Hello! So this is my last video filmed in Osaka for this time around. By the time you watch this video, I don't know where I'll be. Maybe in America, maybe in Canada, maybe in France, who knows. And today I want to talk to you about this fantastic Django solo. And I'm going to teach this solo for free. I'm going to explain what you can get out of it. And since it's free, I would really appreciate it if you could like, if you could subscribe, if you could comment. And if you somehow want to support me, this is related to a number of topics. First of all, there are a lot of interesting picking patterns in this solo. So you can check out my Gypsy Jazz picking book on Amazon. Or you can check out if you're into Gypsy Jazz, you can check out some of my beginner sound slice courses on Gypsy Jazz. I also have a course on harmony for jazz guitar. And we're going to be talking about that here, this concept that I call harmonic direction. There's also a swing phrasing course on Sound Slice where I explain where quote unquote swing comes from, the rhythmic aspect, because there is an objective and a historical aspect to it. I explain that in that course, swing phrasing or something on Sound Slice. And Django is using that concept all over the place in this solo, namely the use of the Charleston rhythm. All right, let's get started. As I've said in previous videos somewhere, the thing about Django Reinhardt is that it can be a little bit difficult for beginners to learn from Django. When I say to learn from Django, I mean to learn how to acquire concepts so that you can use in your own improvisation. If you're just learning the solos, most of them are not too technically difficult. But if you're trying to develop a sense of improvisation, Django is less about licks than about concepts and a thorough understanding of harmony, namely what I call harmonic direction. And this song, Swing 42, is such a song. On songs that are of the nature, what we call rhythm changes type song, the concept of harmonic direction is super, super important. For those of you who are new to my channel, the quick explanation is that harmonic direction is less about the chords that are being played by the rhythm section, but about knowing where the chord progression is going. Because within a chord progression, you have tension and resolution. And so in your improvisation, even though the rhythm section might be playing a particular set of chords, you in your improvisation could be superimposing another set of chords, so long as you resolve at the right moment. And this is done through voice leading. And this solo is full of that. Let's talk about the chord progression to this song first. It's C, A minor, D minor, G7 twice. Although I suspect sometimes the rhythm player, it's hard to hear, but the rhythm player or Django himself is just playing C to G7, but the bass player is doing. And that's because C, assuming that's what they're doing, C and A minor are actually similar. So the bass player can do this and the rhythm guitar player can just stay here. And G7 is basically D minor 6. So, and then they do this, E minor 7 flat 5. So it's kind of a modified version of a rhythm changes. E minor 7 flat 5, A7, D minor, G7, C. That's the A section. But when I listen to the clarinet solo, I think I hear sometimes Django doing this. So that's an example of harmonic direction, assuming my ears heard correctly. I hear some kind of chromatic. Okay, the B section is just E to B7. That's what I hear. Then G7 to go back to the A section. Actually, in a later recording of this song, I think from the late 40s, you can hear Django accompanying Grappelli like this. He's just doing C, F, G, C, F, G, C, F, G. Again, that's the concept of harmonic direction. Now, to look at the solo, I'm going to break everything down for you. Like I said, it's all about the phrasing, so I really suggest that you check out my swing phrasing course on SoundSlice. You'll find the link in the description box. Oh, by the way, in case I haven't said it, this solo will be transcribed for you on SoundSlice, so check out the pinned comment. So the first phrase, Django is really just thinking C major. Just a big C major idea. He doesn't care about and then the turnaround phrase, he's just doing, it's like a bluesy phrase. And then voice leading, just thinking some kind of G7 flat 9 or F minor. Then resolving to the root at the appropriate moment. So they're a perfect example of harmonic direction. Either G minor 7 flat 5 or F minor. Resolution. Check out the transcription if you need to look at the notes. Okay, the second A, he starts out with a blues phrase. So it's just blues. So you can come up with your own little bluesy phrases. And here, just a simple melody like in the key of C. That's a typical rhythm that you can find in my swing course. And then this resolution phrase where he's just thinking G7 to C. I suggest you play this in different positions too. Very, very useful. So pretty much just ignoring this. And then to get into the B section, he does this little phrase. He's thinking this chord, which is A minor, as instead of B7. So it's the same concept as earlier in the first A when I had this F minor. So when you have a dominant chord going to a major chord, you can replace it by the 4 minor. And that's something that I think Django must have learned from Louis Armstrong, because Louis Armstrong used it a lot. A lot of players in the 1930s used it. Lester Young. And even in the bop era, I know that George Benson used this concept as well. I've talked about it in one of my videos. Okay, this part E, so it's very interesting. Oh, you have this cool ornament for the picking. Check out my book, I talk about this ornament. So he does this kind of E shape. Well, actually thinking, kind of thinking this F sharp minor, which is basically B7. Then to E. Then E diminished. This is what we call common tone diminished. So basically Django, the rhythm player is doing E, B7, E. But Django, he's thinking mainly in the key of E, sometimes playing some kind of F sharp minor, or E diminished. And this is what we call common tone diminished. When you're let's say in the key of E, and the chord progression is all in the key of E, what you can do is think E, then E diminish, back to E. It's a very useful trick. Sound kind of familiar? So he does, resolves back to E. So through voice leading, gets back to the G. So he does the same kind of trick, F sharp minor, E, G. Last chorus, this kind of chromatic thing. I guess it's bluesy. And very bluesy lick. And then this final phrase over this, he's just thinking C, G7, C. That's the entire solo. So you see, he's in his mind simplifying the changes. In the A section, really just thinking C, the key of C, and every now and then adding outside chords as he sees fit. And the same thing for the B section. And that's why it can be a little bit difficult to study Django, or a lot of jazz musicians for that matter. They are not always outlining the changes played by the rhythm section. And this is something that you have to understand as soon as possible if you really want to master the language of jazz or understand how jazz improvisation works. If some of the theory that I talked about here is kind of over your head, it would be best to work with a teacher maybe. But yeah, be on the lookout for such things. What's cool about this harmonic direction concept is that every good jazz musician uses it in their own way. And that's how different people come up with their own styles. I know, for example, like Angelo DeBar in Gypsy Jazz, let's say you have a 2-5-1. Instead of going to the 1, he likes to go to C diminished. So I hear him do it all the time. Birelli, let's say over a G7 chord, he likes to play A flat minor. If you check out Charlie Christian, he likes to think, let's say in the same key, like some kind of G7, then F minor. Every musician uses harmonic direction in their own way, and that's very, very cool. And when you try to absorb the language, the concepts of the artists that you like, eventually you're going to come up with your own sauce, so to speak. How should you practice these ideas? Make a list of the different concepts that I explained here and try to work on them individually on different songs. You can work them on a song called Daphne, for example, any kind of rhythm changes songs, or even like a song like Honeysuckle Rose. You have 4 bars of F, so you can play some kind of F idea, and then after F diminished, there's time to do that. Or even over the F chord, you can think some kind of bluesy idea. When you have songs with a lot of seemingly complex chord changes, try to look at what your favorite artist might be doing. Chances are they're simplifying in one way or another. And if you don't understand the simplification process, it would be good to work with a teacher, a good teacher anyway, to explain, to break it down for you. There we go. Leave a comment. Woohoo!